This is the third in a series of modules about productive tutoring techniques. You, the viewer, will have an opportunity to see actual tutors handling real tutoring situations. These scenes will benefit you the most if you take time to think about and discuss what you see. Throughout this module, this screen will appear as a prompt for reflection and discussion. Listening skills are important in tutoring because, in order to help the tutor needs to understand the student's ideas. All students master course material by building on their own ideas, not those of the tutor. The first part of the tutor's listening task is simply to get the student to speak. By using appropriate levels of positive reinforcement, as outlined in Module 2, the tutor encourages student participation. Students also need time to put their ideas into words. This seemingly simple technique of waiting is all too often neglected by tutors. In these scenes, notice how Wendy, David, and Katie give their students time to ask questions.
Cerrada, está abierta, están rotos.
So it's sort of like the subjunctive. Could you look at all of them like the subjunctive? You know how you use like, say like hacer, and you know it's gonna be a regular hecho, but since it's like hecha, and you know how you have to use the opposite vowel ending. Or you can't do it like that.
Because this is only pertaining to adjectives that you use to modify a noun.
Just to make sure, when you have a cell and you have the oxidation occurring in the anode, is there actually being ion formed in the anode since oxidation is occurring?
I was hoping they'd just give me this on the test.
Yeah.
All right. So they want me, is it like a reaction that you have to write out for this, or is it just like a KSP expression?
Yeah, it's
a
the
mass
KF
action.
expression.
Okay.
But it might help you to write what's going to happen to this
understand.
when it dissolves.
Okay.
A general rule of thumb is to wait at least 5 seconds after asking a student a question before rephrasing the question or giving a hint. But, depending on the question asked and the nature of the student, good tutors often wait much longer. Here, Jessica waits almost 10 seconds before giving the student a hint.
That's 11. Wait, is that 11?
Yep. Where are you missing one? Draw in your dots for your carbon. That'll help you see it. Okay, how many carbons did you just draw in?
4.
So where's your other one?
Here.
Yep.
Watch as Marcia describes a physics scenario to her student, carefully phrases a question about the scenario, and gives her student time to respond.
The siren moves away from you towards the face of a cliff at the speed 5.5 meters per second. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that you, the source, or speed of sound? What's moving at 5.5?
The source.
Right.
Now, let's see some more examples of good wait time after questions.
You've already got this first part covered. Now what is the latter part of the question?
So it would be, we don't know C2 yet, right?
Right.
But V2 would be double V1, which is what, 160,000?
Mm-hmm.
Libro, es mío.
But if you want to say los libros, los libros son
Los libros de míos.
son míos.
Son míos.
Mm-hmm.
So what is something else you can do to both sides?
Present log.
Right, take the log of both of them.
For a variety of reasons, students do not always admit to confusion. Sometimes it's up to the tutor to make sure the student has an adequate understanding before proceeding. Notice how Katie correctly interprets a somewhat vague signal of confusion coming from her student.
This is the initial concentration. So when the reaction is complete, or at equilibrium, that's the concentration we need to put here.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of.
Sort of. Okay, remember when we did the 3 steps? You know,
Yeah.
initial, change, and equilibrium.
Equilibrium.
We would always plug the equilibrium concentrations into your K expression.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they give us a concentration for NH3, we can't use that because that's the initial
And it
concentrate. Right, so it changes.
because you're using some of it up, so you have to subtract something from the 1.20.
Right. So what we can do is we can figure out stoichiometrically what the concentration of NH3.
Okay, so it's going to be 4 times 0.20.
Right,
Okay.
right. So,
That's because only 0.20 of this can kick it with 0.2 of this, right?
that's exactly right.
Because there is such a focus on content in tutoring sessions, tutors need to train themselves to be particularly sensitive to students' feelings, both good and bad, which may or may not be explicitly stated.
Okay.
You feel better about that?
Yeah,
Good.
definitely.
Okay.
Our chapter 13 on Wednesday. Whole chapter.
Wow. That's a lot.
¿Listo para Navidad?
No.
No, ¿por qué?
Muy tarde.
Navidad. ¿Estás listo? Are you ready for?
Not really.
¿Por qué?
I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not ready. I'm stressed. I'm not ready for
Tiene
anything.
mucho estrés. Estrés es para estrés. Estrés.
Stress.
Tiene
Muy
mucho-
stress.
Good listening requires patience. Students need time to explain their ideas, and tutors should not rush their responses.
The zeros and all that stuff, I don't understand how to find the zero of something.
Okay. That's cool.
And I understand synthetic division, but I also don't, like the max and minimum stuff, and so I've got to go over that and the domain, because I always forget how to find the domain. Even though we've gone over that like a billion times, I still can't remember how to find the domain.
Here, Marcia carefully thinks through what the student has said before trying to answer her.
30 meters.
Mm-hmm.
What's the final velocity right there? The y component.
We don't know. Because, I mean, it just doesn't stop. It keeps on going. A ball.
Right, but the y component, if a trajectory goes like this, right?
Okay, it's 0 right there.
Right.
There's no need for the tutor to hurry a response to a student's question. A good answer, one which can bridge the conceptual understanding of tutor and student, will take time to formulate. Sometimes, while the tutor is forming such a response, the student will elaborate on her thinking, as seen here.
Okay. So that means it would be a base?
Mm-hmm.
And how would I know it wouldn't be an acid too? Because if pi bonds can get rid of one of the bonds and donate those electrons, can a single bond accept electrons to become a double bond?
Okay, think about what would happen. Let's look at these two here. What would have to happen for those 2 carbons to form a double bond?
Remember that the student's ideas should always take priority over the tutor's. The tutor can save the remark for later, but if interrupted, the student's idea may never surface. If tutors find themselves interrupting their students, they should simply stop talking and ask the students to continue.
It's like,
Right, because
go ahead.
if you move this one, they wouldn't be all
alternating either. So that's not stable either. They wouldn't.
Right.
And that's different from electronegativity just because, to me that sounds kind of like the same thing. Well, it is basically, it's anything that makes this bond stronger.
Let's review the listening skills we have seen. A tutor must have the ability to wait for a student to ask a question, and to wait for a student to respond to the tutor's question. A good tutor is able to correctly interpret uncertainty on the part of the student, and is responsive to the student's feelings. The tutor must have patience when listening to and thinking through the student's idea. Finally, since the student's idea always has priority, a good tutor should never interrupt.